This is a Culture Inject production.
Welcome back, listeners, to Part of Us, an En Vogue Fancast. Before we jump into today's episode, we want to remind you of where you can download any of the episodes that you might have missed of this podcast. Please head on over to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, or Amazon Music, wherever you listen to your podcasts, and hit that follow and subscribe or whatever button. And then follow us on socials. Hit us up at Part of Us Fancast on Twitter or En Vogue Craze on Facebook and YouTube. So now let's get into some news before we jump into the meat and potatoes of today's episode. So, En Vogue was recently featured on a podcast called the Receipts Podcast. And on that podcast, they briefly talked about the possibility of an En Vogue biopic. During the interview, Cindy shared that they're still trying to make it happen and that it could end up either being a biopic or a docuseries.
We watched the other day as well.
Oh, it was good.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
never going to
yeah.
get an En Vogue
Oh.
documentary.
We are trying to make it happen.
Oh, amazing.
Either a biopic or a docu-series, something along that line.
I mean, 34
Yeah.
years in, we
Yeah.
need it
Yeah.
for sure.
Both.
Yeah, and I feel like we don't know, like, do you know, like the messy stories? You guys have done a great job in not telling it.
Yes,
In
on
not
purpose.
putting the messy stories out
Yes.
there.
Yeah.
Because we feel like we know everybody else's messy stories.
Yeah,
but you
yeah,
lot-
yeah.
Time
That's
for
been
our
really
messy stories.
good.
That's very
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
Especially considering like members left in and out. Normally that brings out the
Yeah.
the messy stories. Well done.
It's been very well contained.
We try.
So, friends, we've talked about this at length before about a biopic. What do you all think? Should this be a docuseries? Should it be a biopic? Should it be a television movie? Should it be a feature length? What are you feeling now in this good space?
Now, when you say a docu-series, what does that mean? Like a reality show type of?
No, it means like it's like a long form documentary, but it's split across like either 2 episodes or like 3.
Oh, okay,
4.
documentary. Okay.
However, I must be clear, sometimes the people who are doing reality shows like to call them docu-series when they're really just reality shows.
Right.
So
That's
like
how-
they like to try to make them feel like they're like more substantial than like a Bravo show. They'll be like, oh, it's a docu-series. It's like, oh no, honey.
Right.
But yes, I agree. It's probably it's exactly what Quentin mentioned.
I mean, if anything, I don't know.
You seem so exhausted by the idea at all.
I mean, I don't feel like I need a docu-series. Like, I was there. I've seen all the incarnations of the group. Like, you know, it wouldn't be new information for me. So I guess I would lean more towards the biopic. Only if we're gonna get to like the nitty gritty. Like, only if we're gonna tell an interesting story. Like, I don't want to see like the watered down
Wikipedia version.
Right. Like, I want to get into some things.
To be honest, at this point, I just feel like I'd rather them invest in a new album because I feel like it's just gonna kind of be the same thing, and it'd be great if they could bring everyone in, but obviously because I know that everyone's gonna have much sharper perspectives, and tonally I don't know where that would go, but I think it could be interesting if it's done right. So, you know, let's see where it goes. It could be a cool thing. So I'm down for it if it's something they're very passionate about.
I hope so. I think I'm in the same boat as you all, like, especially because oftentimes I feel like when you're doing something like a biopic or even a documentary or docuseries and your foundation's not good, then sometimes it has a way of like re-traumatizing or re-injuring relationships and things. And so, like you said, I would really only want any of this if it was with everybody involved, and they would have to be really, really good to also understand the nuances of like, well, Dawn interpreted it this way, Cindy interpreted it this way, the truth is somewhere in the in-between of this, like, you know, all these sort of scenarios where they have to kind of like have they might have very different takes on it, and where they have to come up off of the protection of the brand as like a squeaky clean thing and actually talk about, like, you know, the dirt. So like, I don't think they're ready to do that. And so I would rather them just like move in a forward direction, which would be like, give us an album, work on a reunion situation with a tour and make this money.
What was that movie where the girl who played Barbie was the ice skater?
Oh, I, Tonya.
And you know how like it was like from her perspective, it was like, you know, like we all know the story, but I guess we never got it from like Tanya's perspective or whatever. I think it would be neat to kind of like get the En Vogue story told from like all four of their different perspectives, you know, and like to see how like drastically they differ and like, you know, make it funny.
Oh, that could be interesting.
You know what I mean? Like in a way of like, because I don't think everyone's going to ever agree, but like telling the story from multiple points of view so that it's like, it's just not the typical like TV One movie. You know what I mean?
There've been a lot of like recent movies that have kind of, I think, they've held the weight of having to like tell a story about an iconic somebody. Like I'm thinking about the Weird Al Yankovic one, or even the there was a Richard Simmons one with Pauly Shore. I think
that's coming, isn't it?
Or something like that. But like I think there's an interesting universe where you like kind of blur the lines between truth and reality, like between truth and like fiction, and then you have fun with that a little bit.
Yeah.
And so telling the story of a girl group and then being like, each girl gets a chance to like sit down and be like, here's how I remember it.
Exactly. Like I know what she said, but she lied.
Right.
This how it really went down.
Right.
Like, that would be so funny to me. Like,
or like even if they just hyper focused, I thought it was cool with the Jimi Hendrix biopic with Andre 3000 and even Jennifer Hudson's Respect, how they didn't feel the need to tell the whole history of an artist. This sort of moment of like they took us to with Aretha up until the Amazing Grace, right? So like it would be interesting if there was an En Vogue biopic and it was like the night we broke up or something, and they each sort of told like how it went down or something like that. Could be interesting, you know what I mean? Or
it's because I think with the biopics, like I think what I've come to realize is that, you know, the story is never going to be 100% correct. Like, you know, like there's no way to really accurately tell a person's life story, you know what I mean? So just make it entertaining and just make it creative. I think that's a fun direction, because biopics just get kind of stale and just standard to me after a while. So like framing it from like a creative point of view, I would like that. Like with a cool director, someone who can, you know, have a different point of view, a different type of style. I would like that.
I think most people would say they wanted like the traditional TLC New Edition moment, but like once you get past the recreations of things, like there really wasn't a whole lot new there. Like people were really hyped up about like the TLC biopic because they like, oh, how are they gonna redo all these moments, and oh, they did well or they didn't do well, or oh, they nailed this, they didn't nail this. But like I really kind of want to hear about the story. Like, what's the story saying? It's like something that we don't already know. Because I mean, most of those biopics, we kind of knew all the nuts and bolts.
And if you want to know En Vogue's story, just start from season 1 of our podcast. I mean, we go through everything.
Twice.
I mean, we fill in all the blanks. There's nothing more that you would need to see. Just listen to us.
With a lot of allegedly baked around it. So yeah. Cool. Well, we'll see, I guess. Hopefully, I mean, anything is better than nothing, honestly. So I think anything that gets the ladies' names out and the En Vogue conversation going is not a bad thing, but like, let's do it right. Moving on, we have letters this episode. So we have a few letters submitted by our listeners to address before we dive into the episode and discussion. So first up, we have an email from Sophie. Sophie says, Josh and JP, just writing to say that last week's episode was really enjoyable. Who knew that cutting down to 2 hosts would double the fun? I really enjoyed the all listeners letter format, and I laughed so hard my neighbors probably think I'm a bit unhinged, but whatevs. Kudos on a great show and keep up the good work. Cheers, a fan who secretly loves the duo dynamic, aka Sophie. Oh, it feels very like we're like half of who we were last season. So, so yeah, thanks. That's very sweet.
Never underestimate the strength of a butterfly.
We have Christina Garland on YouTube said, Rona's new song Butterfly. Do you like it? Josh, have you heard it?
I have heard this, and I like it. I think that it's an interesting. It flips the what's the TV show? Reading Rainbow, the butterfly in the sky. Like it uses that as like the hook, which I think is kind of fun. It's kind of got it's a little more sing-songy in terms of like rhythmic speaking as opposed to like, so like it feels kind of less like she's blowing on this, but she is like having fun, and I appreciate it, and it's got like a nice beat to it. I like when Rona gets to step on and do something on her own, so I kind of like it. I'd like more, please and thank you. Well, she says, apparently, I missed this, but in the caption on YouTube for the lyric video for Butterfly, she says that this is from her forthcoming album titled Instant Classic, a dynamic collection of songs blending Rona's two passions, entertainment and life coaching. So I think the idea, and this song is no different. It's message driven. It's message driven, which I think taps into the sort of like life coaching side of her that seems to be kind of finds its way through all of what she does.
So I was listening to it. I think it sounds kind of nice little beat. I like the beat. I do think it sounds cute. The Reading Rainbow sample is really interesting. Like it's catchy because we all know that, right? But I just wonder, why can't they as a group like? I'm just wondering, like, she's coming out with a solo album. Like, what is the delay on group album?
You said there was no shade before. It's coming out. Lord have mercy. Anyway, the next email is from Stacy. Stacy says, "Hi guys, I really enjoyed your last podcast, as I do all of yours. I also enjoyed that really nice quick departure into deeper thoughts, coping with loss, which I thought both of you handled very nicely. But back to En Vogue, you brought up good points about both Dawn and Max, but have you ever considered that maybe they've just moved on and aren't all that interested in performing anymore? Max in particular has other things she's doing, if I remember correctly, and I totally agree with you on Raphael Sadiq. I was so excited to hear his song, and it was such a drag. What happened? Hope they can get together again, but with good material. I think they all actually be a great fit. Keep up the awesome work, y'all." From Stacy. That was nice. It was nice. A little detour. But yeah, I mean, Max is out here still singing and still performing. So, and still welcoming the En Vogue into her sets and things. So like, it's not like she's, I think, shying away. Like of the two, she feels like the most well positioned to want to like explore it again. I don't know what Dawn is up to either.
You're not blocked?
I don't know that I've seen her on Instagram. I'm not blocked somehow, some way. But she used to be kind of like heavy on Instagram and stuff. I don't know that I see her stuff anymore. So hopefully she's doing all right. But like the Instagram lives and YouTube lives and stuff of yesteryear have now gone. So like maybe she's made peace and she's moving on. Because there was a time where she was even just like heavy in the comments on Instagram and on all these things, sort of like talking back and forth about En Vogue stuff. And it just seems like maybe she's settled on an En Vogue-less life. And that's God, okay
that sounds
too.
Terrible. An En Vogue-less life? Gosh, how dreadful.
Is it when you walked away from it? Anyway.
Well, we're sending Dawn Robinson all the love and light and healing energy.
Did this show turn into a Dawn fan cast at some point? Like,
I love Dawn. I've always been Team Dawn.
Well, I will say I finally bought my hard copy of her debut like 2 months ago.
I have it as well.
Where did you find it? Like, did you Discogs it or
Amazon? They're an independent seller on Amazon. Yeah.
Oh, good.
I actually enjoyed it a lot more than I did the first time. I still don't like Envious, but the rest of the record was really nice. The record is terrible. Like, the rest of the album is fantastic, but not that one. Sorry.
Our next letter says, "Hello and good afternoon. I apologize for my late email about this concert. Will anyone from the podcast or listeners be going to Yamava Casino. I'll be attending on the way now. In any case, I hope y'all are doing well and hope to see some of you there. Just can't stay away, Carl Sean. Well, thank you, Carl. Looks like that concert was in July, so we missed it, but I hope you had a good time.
Yeah, I think there's footage on the YouTubes of it. So for those of us who missed it, it's available. Uh-oh, we got one from Romello. Romello always stirs the pot a little bit. Okay. I love it. Hey, Romello. So Romello writes, hello, part of us. I got a lengthy one for you. Just FYI. Sorry, LOL. So, oh baby, it's got bullet points. All right. Number 1. Have any of you had the opportunity to watch Amanda Cole's recent interview with Check the Rhymes TV? If not, you can catch it here. It's on YouTube. In the interview, Amanda opens up about the reasons behind her departure from En Vogue, shedding light on various aspects of her journey. Surprisingly, it was revealed that prior to joining the group in 2001, she shared a close friendship with Terry, spending time together and enjoying soy chai lattes on a daily basis. Amanda also disclosed that before En Vogue, she was involved with another project of Foster & McElroy's called Premiere, where she was brought in by Cindy and Terry along with Foster and McElroy to support the group during their European tour in 2002. Despite her efforts, she faced backlash from the fan base and encountered creative differences with Terry, which strained their friendship. However, she remains in touch with Cindy, Terry, Maxine, and Rona through Facebook, expressing a desire to connect with Dawn in the future. Were you aware of these details? It's fascinating to learn more about Amanda's journey and the dynamics within the group.
You mentioned En Vogue, and if you totally don't want to talk about that, that's fine. But I just was curious because I don't know the reason that why you did leave the group.
The reason why I really don't talk about the group or bring the group up is because when I got into that group, those girls had already worked so very hard to create that brand, to create something that was, to me, very transformative in our culture, right? Yeah. That was already established. I just came in to help. I was helped. And I knew Terry and I knew Tommy and Denny because I'd worked with them before, and Terry and I were good friends. So,
yeah, I think people, because when I was looking it up last night, it was, people in these I guess these forums just making assumptions. And I was like, no, I've never heard anything bad about the time you were there. Like never, all they can do is assume. So that's why I was like I just asked.
I was friends before I got into the group. So we were hanging out. We hung out in the Bay Area, all at her house. We go get chai lattes, soy chai lattes every day.
Yeah.
So this is before I even got into the group. So we were friends. And I feel for them. I'm so excited for the road that they're on now. Rona Bennett is one of the most incredible ladies. The lady, she has a single out now called We. She is an inspirational speaker, just a beautiful person, and she fits with them perfectly.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think everything worked out the way that it needs to work out. And like I said, what's meant for me will always find me.
Exactly.
So I didn't feel like, I just felt it was very disingenuous to try to use their name to try to whatever it is that I'm trying to do it, because it doesn't belong to me. Those girls worked very hard for that. And I wanted to respect the fact that it belongs to them. Right. But it was a great time. They were very gracious to share the stage with me. They were very gracious to share that brand with me. I was the very first. So I was like the guinea pig of the group. Of the whole thing. So I got a lot of flack from fans because people were devastated.
Yeah.
When they saw a new face, they're like, what's going on?
Right.
Where's my group? Right. And I got a lot of, a lot of hate. But eventually, I was there for maybe 4 or 5 years. So eventually it started to come around and they were like, okay, well, this is what it is. And it was a fun time. I had a great time. They're wonderful people. They're really great people. Tommy and Denny were very instrumental in how I produced today because they allowed me to produce some stuff, to write some stuff. So they were very open. It was a really, really good experience, especially for my first time being in that type of humongous opportunity. It was really great. But I decided towards the end that the industry was just something that I was not comfortable with. Just the things that I had to sacrifice, the things that I had to do in order to be a part of that. It just something that I was willing to do. And it had nothing to do with them. Like I said, they were always so gracious and wonderful to me. But just the business aspect of it was not something that I could really, but off stage with the business aspect and just a lot of, outside things. Yeah. I was not comfortable. And being that I was young, I did have the presence of mind to say, Amanda, you can continue, not disappoint everybody because, everybody was excited that I was in the group. Yeah. Or you can choose yourself, choose you. And after that, God has never disappointed you or let you down. You will always be where you need to be. Woo! Yes, yes. And so I had to pray about it. I did. And eventually I said, I need to just trust that something else is going to be there for me. And that's what I had to do. So it wasn't anything salacious. It wasn't anything crazy. We weren't fighting and pulling each other's hair. No, it was nothing like that. It was just the decision I had to make for myself. Okay, how I through the industry, how I wanted to move through my life, really. So, that was all.
So before I keep going into Romelo's letter, let's respond to that. Has anybody heard these details about this Amanda interview or any of these stories before?
No, I have not. I like Amanda though. But I think the interview I saw, she didn't really go into detail. This may be a different one, but she didn't really go into like details on what happened with En Vogue. So to hear about creative differences, that's interesting.
Yeah. And I kind of hate that, like, there are moments when, like, there's actual friendship and then, business or whatever kind of, like, messes it up. Because it's kind of nice to hear that they started as friends, she and Terry, and then, eventually, unfortunately, it kind of unraveled because of business. But, like, it's also interesting to hear that she named specifically that a factor, like, was the backlash from the fan base, which is kind of unfortunate because, I mean, why? Why were people being mean? Like, I don't understand. I guess people are loyal, but, like, there had been such a, I think, significant, how long after, well, she joined in 2001. So how about like a year between? Yeah. I mean, so, okay. I guess that justifies people being upset. Well, it's good to hear that she's still in touch with the ladies on Facebook. That's like, not nice, nasty. There's like a softer version of that to be like, we still cool on Facebook. But girl, don't go talking to Dawn. You might get blocked. So, anywho. So, number 2, Romella also writes, I also came across an article from the late 2000s discussing Dawn's return for the 20th anniversary of the group. In that piece, Terry briefly addressed Rona's absence and her current status with En Vogue. Miss Ellis mentioned, quote, Rona is still a part of En Vogue, but her involvement is as needed. Dawn, in one of her numerous YouTube interviews, recalled an incident surrounding the 2008 BET Awards where Rona expressed frustration at not being included. Terry had to assertively remind her that one cannot be upset about the audience's familiarity with the original lineup. This situation is reminiscent of how Kelly Moneymaker temporarily filled in for Gloria Bruno in Expose until, what is it? Is it Gioia? Say that again?
I think Gioia.
Gioia Bruno in Expose until Gioia's return. She graciously acknowledged Kelly as an honorary member of the group, leading to a memorable performance by all 4 members as Expose featuring Kelly Moneymaker of Point of No Return at a Pride event some years ago. What do we think about that? That kind of also happened with Sugar Babes, where they reunited as the original and then, like, didn't invite the girls that joined later in the game, even though some of the hits came with them ladies. But, like,
the Sugar Babes is different because they had so many different variations of that group, and, like, it's different. When you think about the hits of En Vogue, I mean, the hits of En Vogue feature 4 people. You know what I mean? And so you can't really be upset when people want to see the 4 people that they know, you know?
Yeah, who haven't recorded in how long.
And, like, honestly, I think even Terry's opinions have shifted from this because, like, the talking point is different now. Like, I don't know, there's not, unless that's not something we see and hear, but, like, it feels very much like now. I mean, we've heard that, right, through stories that, like Rona was on stage with them at that last sort of big moment together because she deserved to be there, and there was clearly an agreement that that's what was okay. So, like, yeah, I have a feeling that this feels true, right? Like this kind of push and pull and back and forth, but like Rona's still there. Where the rest of them at?
Mm-hmm. She got the last laugh in the end.
Anyway, number 3. So, in the group's ongoing drama, one recurring theme stands out, Terry's role. Dawn attributes her exit to Terry's involvement with Denny. Amanda points to a decline in both her friendship and professional relationship with Terry due to disagreements about the group's direction towards the end of her time with them, and it's implied that Terry exerted control over Rona's involvement, particularly in relation to the 2008 BT Awards. Could Terry, the sole consistent member of the group, have been the true adversary of En Vogue all along? I don't want to do that. I'm not going there. I also feel like these are the things that happen, and I don't want to like point it back at, this is not a fault to the ladies, but like this is the conversation we're kind of stuck in when we don't have other work to respond to. So like that's why I really hope we get more and more and more stuff from them, be that album, be that EP, be that a single, be that a video, a behind the scenes, a docuseries, whatever it is, because I feel like we're unfortunately like what I read in letters like this time and time again, and there's nothing wrong with it, is at the root we want to talk about the women, and we want to talk about the dynamics, we want to talk about the things that mean a lot to us about this group, because we don't really have too much else in right now other than, you know, a tour schedule to talk about. So like hopefully we get some more so that these so that we can, you know, wonder about new things, because unfortunately we will never know, honey. We will never know. Lord. Thanks, Romello. Romello is always, like I said, Romello always bringing in something to stir the pot. It's welcomed. It's welcomed. So JP can have his shady moment.
We see each other, Romello. We see each other. We understand.
Well, we are going to get into today's discussion. So on today's episode, we are diving into a creative exercise of curating our dream set list for an En Vogue concert. So we'll be offering a fresh perspective on what we think makes for an unforgettable show. It's going to be a fun discussion, especially since we don't always agree with the current set list that En Vogue performs. So let's dive in and explore our favorite tracks and imagine the ultimate En Vogue concert experience. So we're going to make sure that we're talking about the iconic hits, the fan favorites, the deep cuts, songs that showcase vocal talents, etc. So who wants to go first? JP's going first.
Oh my God. We're supposed to save the best for last. So I have to set the scene. Picture it. The lights are low. Smoke has filled the stage. Okay, so the first song would be Strange, right? From Born to Sing. But not the whole Strange, but just the intro part. Like when it's like solo, can't get under it so high, can't get over it. And so then we go into Strange, just a little bit, and then we go directly into My Lovin'. It's familiar. The people are into it. You know, they're excited. Boonts, boonts. Okay. So then from there we go to Lies. Because it's familiar. I think you got to start with something that the people know. So we go into Lies, and it's, you know, we do probably, you know, a verse, the chorus, the bridge, you know, bring it on home. And then from there, we're going to do a classic, Love Lines, from Born to Sing. And maybe this song is kind of personal to me, but it was, I vaguely remember having the Hold On cassette single, and Love Lines was like the part B, the side B part. And Love Lines has like a bit of like a dance hall little feel to it. So we're going to do like a little taste of that, but then we're going to go right into Desire from Funky Divas. So we're keeping that kind of islandy reggae feel going. And then, we're going to do a little piece of Desire. And then from there, we go into Hip Hop Lover, which is also an album track from Funky Divas. And so they're singing about the young boy or whatever, being too young. And then from there, we go into What a Man. This is so exciting. Like, I can just hear it in my head. Like, can you imagine?
You've been dreaming of this moment.
You go from Hip Hop Lover, which I think should have been a single, and then What a Man, but not the whole What a Man, because I don't really like when they add in like that little verse that they sing or whatever. Just, just the chorus type of thing. And then from there, this might be controversial, but from there I would do Hold On. But I don't want to do the intro because I just feel like if you can't hit it the way you used to hit it, then let's just skip it. So let's just go right into the, when the beat drop of Hold On. Like we don't need the acapella. So we jamming, we're doing all of Hold On, and then the lights go low and it's like a little sexy interlude moment. And then they come back out in some type of gown, sexy, and then they do Giving Him Something He Can Feel, right? And then, but we're going to do like a mashup of Giving Him Something He Can Feel and Hooked on Your Love. Very Sparkle moment. And then from there, we're going to do Damn, I Want to Be Your Lover. Keep it sexy and sultry. Maybe bring a man on stage and do a little serenade moment. And then we're going to keep it going with one of the songs I haven't seen them perform in years, which is Too Gone Too Long. And then from there, Work It Out, which is from Masterpiece Theater, which I don't think they've ever performed that song, but I like it, so I want to hear it. And then after Work It Out, for Too Gone Too Long and Work It Out, it's going to be like the basic verse, chorus, bridge type of situation. And then I would add in Careful from Soulflower. So this is like the soft, intimate, sexy moment. And then to end it, I would end it with Sad But True from Masterpiece Theater. And then that's
the last song?
No, that's the end of like the love suite. That's like the sexy love suite.
Oh, okay. I was like, that was a choice to end on Sad But True. Okay.
That's just the end of Act 2. Okay.
Okay.
And then we're going into like Act 3, which is going to be like, oh yeah. So that's the end of that. Then Act 3 is going to be Love Don't Love You. So we up tempo. We're taking it to the club. We're going to get kind of housey. We're going to have like the, a very much of a little Renaissance moment with Love Don't Love You. Then we're going to do whatever, but we're going to do the little remix version. And then I want to do like a remix of, I want to throw in a little bit of Riddle, but then go into Losing My Mind from Soulflower. But it's like a dance version. Now, the dance version doesn't really exist, but, we're just going to kind of make it up. And then from there, we're going to end that with What Is Love from Funky Divas. So we had our little gay pride moment, very Renaissance, very, everybody throw glitter and confetti. And then for our finale, we're going to start with The Prayer. Wait.
Oh, what?
Wait, listen. We're going to start with The Prayer from the Funky Divas album. Where Cindy's like, Father.
This is the Funky Divas tour. This is what it is.
She's like, Father, I just want to thank you for so many blessings. And then from there, we're going to go into Part of Me. Because, hello, why not? Part of us, part of me. And it's like, it's a simple spotlight. And the ladies are in like a little white-ish Easter suit, very reminiscent of Born to Sing. And so they're singing, Gotta Be Part of Me. So they're singing that. And then from there, they go into Sitting by Heaven's Door from EV3. And so, it's just very, somber-ish. Well, not somber, but it's like somber in a celebratory way. Because I guess you'll see your dead person again. And then from there,
Also, could I just say how far we've come where Sitting on Heaven's Door made it to JP's set list because it would have never. All attribution to Quentin for this because I feel like Quentin turned the page for EV3 for JP.
So we're just sitting by Heaven's Door, waiting for you to come home. And from there, we do Runaway Love. We got to work on that segue a little bit, but, you know, they'll be riffing and then they can just go into Runaway Love. And, you know, I don't know. And then it's going to feel like the end. It's going to feel like, you know, Take Me Higher. We love you. Thank you. You know, give it up for the band. And so they go in the back and touch up their makeup and, like, you know, maybe change clothes really quick. And then they go into Don't Let Go. You know, that's like the finale. It's Don't Let Go. And they do that. And then Free Your Mind. And then everyone goes home. But I feel like that incorporated most of their albums.
Did it?
With the ones that matter. Yes. It literally covers everything except for Electric Cafe. I put in 2 songs from Soulflower.
I mean, it's very you, and I think that's why we enjoyed it, because it's you and unapologetically so, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think there's a react button here I can hit. So your audience can't see it, but they can see it. So see, yay!
Oh, and the tour will be like the reunion.
Okay, I see it. I see the vision. You want me to go next? Okay. Mine is probably a bit less imaginative than JP's. I did go, so there's like, I don't know, I said this before we started recording today, is I feel like it's tough to take the hits off. It's like when I go see Janet Jackson and I really want to hear the things that I love the most, but then I know why she has to do all the greatest hits every single time. And so I'm gonna, like, the hits are here more or less, but then I snuck some things in. So I couldn't really see, like, I couldn't find like a theme for this show like JP did, but like, I sort of have an idea of what I would want to see as like intro things and even like in between, like during costume changes. And it's like just like heavy use of like archival footage, because I think that they have so many classic moments that like don't really get like, they don't utilize the footage enough. So like everybody loves the award show acceptance speech of like them singing the acceptance speech, right? Like, but they don't really like use that. I kind of want to see them use that as like footage in really cool ways, as like, you know, to intro themselves or to move as transitions between things in shows and stuff. I care less about like animations and more about like cool, interesting uses of their own stuff. So that's sort of how I visualize this. And it kind of is a bit of like a legacy tour in terms of like, not like a tried and true, like cut and paste, easy legacy set list, but more like a welcoming of like all of the legacy things, the good, bad, and otherwise. So anywho, I start with Whatever because she's my fave, and I think it just knocks, and it's an appropriate way with like big lights and interesting like silhouettes and things to introduce the ladies. And then with choreo, like I want a full-fledged Whatever moment. And then it goes into My Lovin', which I think is interesting because I think My Lovin' was second on JP's as well. And then it goes into a mashup of Let It Flow and Riddle. I don't know. I hear it in my head and I feel like it could happen, but I do want to play with like a little mashup moment.
And you said for which ones again?
For Let It Flow and Riddle.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
More so Riddle placed on to Let It Flow's beat as opposed to the other way around. And then I have it going into Free Your Mind. So a bit of a big building, booming moment. And then we have a transition moment where we get our like archival footage. We watch the ladies in various iterations over the years. And then we come in with the good feeling that is Give It Up, Turn It Loose. And so we have that moment. Oh, by the way, all the ladies are here. All of them. And Give It Up, Turn It Loose, Max and Rona share the lead. This ain't up for discussion, JP. So we do Give It Up, Turn It Loose, and then we go into Runaway Love, which I think is something that deserves to be on the set list way more. And then, because I'm a nerd, we go into It's About Love, which is a B-side moment from the EV3 era. And then we go into Rocket.
Yay.
So after It's About Love, we have a small transition moment, and then it gets a little slower. So we go into Rocket, and then we go into, Sad But True, because I also put Sad But True on my list, just because I wanted to find a place. It's so dramatic, but it's so good. So I don't even know if this is the right place for it, but I almost put it wherever I could because I just want to hear them do it again. But I'm envisioning them like even Rocket and Sad But True being like Rocket, Sad But True, and then Too Gone Too Long being like the on the stool was chilled out kind of sitting moment. Like, just give us good vocals, sitting down, enjoying whatever. Like, let's focus on the vocals. And then we go into Giving Him Something He Can Feel. There's a transition. We come back also probably in a gown situation, but we do Giving Him Something He Can Feel. I actually brought in I Do Love You from Soulflower after that. And then I brought in Yesterday. And then following that with Don't Go, but like a really stripped down acoustic version of Don't Go. And then we go into Reach For Me, because I think Reach For Me deserves all of it. And then we end with Hold On. And then we encore with Don't Let Go. And that's my set list.
Yay! Thank you for sharing. We're going to react to that one as well. I mean, everyone can't see it here. We have some parts there.
Oh, thank you. I'm trying to remember, what did I leave off? I feel like I left off something big. Like a big hit.
Did you do My Lovin'?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you'd do Lies or You Don't Have to Worry.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't put
I thought about Lies.
Oh, y'all are gonna...
I took Lies off just because they keep doing it. Like, they've owned that one recently, so I was like, it can come back off. So yeah, Quentin, you're up.
All right, well, let's see here. So my thing is that I'm kind of approaching it like a blend of realism but with a little bit of suspension of belief. So so in the sense that it's the current lineup. But in my suspension of belief, this is a tour, it's a clearing the deck tour, very sort of a tight tour, only major cities in America, and it's En Vogue and En Revue in French. So it's a really cool sort of thing, and they have a really great history where they give an intro of the group. They tip their hats to Amanda, Maxine, and Dawn. And if there's just I tried to find a way to fit some of the Christmas songs and it didn't work, but maybe if this ever gets revisited as a topic, I'll do like a Christmas oriented one. But and then the three girls, each one gets a spotlight, their name, they snap their fingers, and they go into this because it's in 6 acts with an encore. They go into You Don't Have to Worry. That's what they open with, which then goes into Free Your Mind, which then goes and they finish up Act 1 with Electric Cafe, which has elements of Bootylicious and I've Got Your Gun. I wanted something to kind of highlight the more alternative kind of En Vogue with a bit of an edge, start strong. So then in Act 2, we start off with a hat tip to their Oakland foremothers with a fantastic cover of Automatic. Which then goes into My Lovin' / Riddle as sort of a mashup. They just kind of do a little hat tip to Riddle, but it's kind of based around the James Brown, The Big Payback. So it's really loose and funky. And then they go into No, 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 Can't Come Back. And then they close Act 2 with Losing My Mind. So at this point, there's a little interval where they, speak and they get to the audience and all that stuff. And then they cool it down on Act 3, which opens up with Too Gone Too Long, Just Can't Stay Away, which I think they're Nat Nicole cover. which is on the debut, Giving Him Something He Can Feel, which has a little brief interlude of a thing with both versions of Sparkle that briefly come up, both the original film and then the Jordan Sparks film. And in their video, and then it comes into like a new video where it's just the three of them, and then it goes into them singing it, actually. Then we go on to Rocket, Break, then this is Act 4. So I guess, 5 acts. Encore. Act 4, which opens up with Beat of Love. Then we go into Whatever. And then they kind of bring it back up because Whatever's kind of like cool and still spooky, but it's funky. They go into Reach for Me. And then they do sort of a mashup of Ooh Boy and Runaway Love with elements of Don't Want to Lose Your Love by The Emotions. So we're kind of giving our hat tips to our different girl groups.
Oh, I gotta listen. I gotta imagine that one. Give that to me again. It's
so the Act 4 opens up with Beat of Love, and then goes into Whatever, and then they do Reach for Me. And then they do sort of a mashup of Ooh Boy and Runaway Love, but there are elements of Don't Want to Lose Your Love by The Emotions.
Wow. Okay.
And then they do for Act 5, and this is where they do the band intros, but they do Give It Up, Turn It Loose, Blue Skies, Don't Let Go Love, and then Hold On, which has elements of Stop in the Name of Love. And then they stop. And then they come back out for the encore, which is Let It Flow. And then after that, they do a quick little harmony thing where they do a sort of, not a mashup, where they can do 2 little portions of I Do Love You, Piece of My Love, and Does Anybody Hear Me?
Oh, Does Anybody Hear Me?
And then that's where they do the promotion for the limited, or for the reissue, the digital and physical limited, the digital reissues, limited physical reissues of their catalog, and reveal that they have a new album that's forthcoming. So
you built in the announcements too. I love it.
Yeah, so I thought it was kind of cool. I thought it'd be kind of cool for them to tip their hats to a few girl groups here and there, and just some things I think would be interesting.
Baby, we got vastly different set lists. These are 3 different shows.
So, and I gave my electric cafe its love. So
I like the idea of,
and all the hits were pretty much showcased.
I like the idea of, you said Ooh Boy and Runaway Love.
It's kind of like a mashup, but then it's got elements of Don't Want to Lose Your Love by The Emotions.
Yeah, that's piquing my interest because I kind of want to. I just kind of want to hear what that would sound like.
So, and I meant to say they were doing this show with Questlove as their music director, and that they really sat down to actually really examine their catalogs, and they would engage fans, but ultimately they would make the final decision of how they wanted to represent both their big hits, deep cuts, and some other little kind of cool twist here and there. And all 3 women are involved in the process. And yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I think, I don't know if you imagine this too, JP, but like, I also imagine like, it wouldn't just be like, let's just go with the same arrangement for every single thing as we've been doing. And like, I think maybe there would just be a lot more playfulness and reimagining of some of the things. Even if it was still the core was still the same, like there would just be a lot more flair to it, or there'd be some interesting like tweaks to make it sound interesting for the show and not just like, here's the same track thing that we did.
Yeah, definitely have to have a live band. That's one thing. I've been to several concerts this year, and I am just so upset at how so many R&B artists are on tour without a live band. Like, that is a part of the experience, you know?
Name them.
Like the Queens of R&B tour. Like, how are you on an R&B themed tour and there is not...
That's a track show?
There is not a band in sight.
Get out of here.
But it's expensive you have to build that budget in for a band, because you have to insure the musicians, you have to pay them, you have to house them and feed them.
I get it, but I feel like, listen, I've never seen Stephanie Mills, Patti LaBelle, Gladys Knight anywhere without a full band. So I'm like, if they can figure it out, then
that's because but you're right. But I think that's because they understand that that's just that's a necessary part of them going out, and that's the expectation. So they have to do that.
Even Tank, Tank had the R&B Money tour. He had Tank, Kerry Hilson, Carl Thomas. And you're billing yourself as this essential R&B tour, and there's no band. It's a track show. I'm like, that is crazy. That's nuts to me. So yeah, I think the live band is essential.
Wow. I just can't imagine playing those venues though, because like Queens of R&B is not playing small.
Yeah, they're
venues.
in arenas. Yeah.
So that's kind of wild to me, but I agree. I think the necessity of there's a necessity here for a band in all of these iterations of set lists. I can't imagine these being track shows.
Now, for all three of our set lists, were there any songs that we feel like that kind of overlap that we all were like must-haves? I know My Lovin' was one of them. Me and Josh had My Lovin' at the same place, the second song.
Yeah. Yours was pretty high up too, I think, Quentin, in the show, right?
Which one?
My Lovin'.
My Lovin's in Act 2, yeah. It's right after the Corner Sisters cover. We had Let It Flow and in there. And we both kind of semi-closed on Don't Let Go Love. I kind of like the idea of sort of juxtaposing two of their biggest signature hits in there.
One song that you had, Quentin, that I love is No 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 Can't Come Back. I love that song.
Oh yeah, that's one of my favorites. I think that's it's a really dynamic song. I think I even like the lyrics are really smart.
They used to do that like at the top of their show. I think when if I'm not mistaken, I think when like Dawn and them came back that first time, when they were doing shows, I think that was like at the top of the show, like first or second song.
I like the brick sample in that track. Is really, really smart. The title escapes me, but it's a really, really cool. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I'm actually very happy because my retrospective on Masterpiece Theater is the only one that's out there. Yay. Yeah, Living from the Mind. And I just thought it's a really smart track. One of my favorites. And that's one of the ones that shows that like, Foster and McElroy still had some really interesting ideas up their sleeves as producers when they're really like focused on some of the latter albums that I really liked, and that's one of my favorites.
And it's like I don't know what the hell they're talking about in that song, but I think
it's kind of like almost like a social commentary track, and it's and I like how it's sort of telling that story, and it it's ideally that would have been a great first single. But what can you do?
I also love that we all brought in Too Gone Too Long.
It's a great song.
I think there's I don't know. Do we know when the last time they actually performed? Like, have they ever performed it beyond the sort of
when it came out
era of the album?
I don't know. I haven't seen them do it.
It's a tough song to sing, though. I would imagine. Like it's a bbig song, so. I don't know. Sometimes those like lesser, it wasn't like a flop. Like it did well on the charts. I don't know. I think that sometimes they don't include the songs that still have enough fan energy around them. Cause I think people really love Too Gone Too Long.
I also think, like you said, I think it's probably a difficult song to do live. I get the feeling it's a really like, that's a lot to probably do, live. They probably have to rework it or figure out a different way to approach it.
I want all of the ladies and all of the singers and all of the everybody to get very comfortable with adjusting our songs for our current voices.
Taking that key down a little bit.
Take it down. It's okay. There was this whole debate on the internet about Adele and singing whatever that song was, and
Chasing Pavements?
No, it was the one that Bruno Mars did for her. I can't remember it, but it's a big song. It's a big belty high, but Bruno Mars tends to
sings in the rafters.
Write songs that sort of, like you can hear him singing it and he's all the way up there. And so anyway, everybody was like, oh, she's, belting. But then I was like, but there are all these other moments where she's like right at the top of it. And it sounds uncomfortable. And I just want largely people to get comfortable with like the integrity of the song, not needing for it to be in its original key. Like, it's okay. So I would love to hear a reworked version of Too Gone Too Long where they didn't have to go to the rafters. Like,
cause I'm tired of hearing Candy Burris struggle to hit that little whistle note. I'm like, sis, baby, take that down. Take it down. You don't have to, like, it's okay.
Also, it's not a whistle note. I'm like, we're not. It just sounds painful.
Are there any songs on our set list that we feel should not have been on the set list? Like, is there any?
Ooh.
Does anyone feel like someone just got it wrong? Like, why is it there? Like, why is she here? Why is she here?
Well, JP, I know you got one.
What?
What's a song you didn't that you saw or peeped on someone's set list that you don't think should be there? And why is it off of Electric Cafe?
Was not. It was actually one of yours, Josh.
Oh no, which one?
It was it was one of the bonus. It was one of the
Oh, It's About Love.
Yes, I was like, of all the bonus tracks,
I just love that song so much.
That is the one I hate. I love what's the other one? I Get Your Gun.
I've Got Your Gun. Yeah.
Keep Your Money is up there for me, but I'm like, It's All About Love. That is the one I dislike the most.
I like it, Josh. I mean, but it's EV3, so we know that's my favorite En Vogue album, so I'm biased.
There's just some really fun vocal moments on there too, and Cindy does just some really interesting runs and things that I don't think we expect out of her on that song. So I think that's why I particularly enjoy it. But I don't know. Plus, I think that it's important to, like, when you've got an audience captive like that, and when you got so many hits, I think they should really lean more into squeezing more stuff that people don't necessarily know as a way of, like, introducing or reintroducing parts of their catalog that, like, maybe people might go listen to after a show. Because, like, when your show is stacked, like, I think that's why Janet can go and do songs that nobody cares about, like, or people care less about. Because, you know, the hardcore fans love it, and then the people who are not familiar might be like, what is this? What is it that she's doing now that's so interesting that gagged me? Not Love to Love. She did another one.
Oh, she did Take Care.
Take Care.
Baby, when she did that, oh.
So, like, I just think it's fun when they do that.
Well, I do like how... Who put Let It Flow on their set list?
Both of us did.
I really love that song. And I recently concluded that should have been the lead single from EV3, but I did not include it on my set list.
Interesting. I don't know about lead single, but I agree. I think it should have been a single.
I remember they did that on the Jamie Foxx show.
It was the Wayans brothers.
Or Wayans
brothers.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah. It was, it just, for that era, the beat knocks really, really complimentary to whatever. So I feel like they're like, I would just wish they would have rode that kind of sound.
Yeah.
It sounds like they're Tony. It reminds me a lot of what they were doing on House Music.
Yeah, it sounds like Let's Get Down.
Yeah. Well, we now have to, okay, so there's one more challenge before we leave. We have to now consider adding a song not traditionally performed live by En Vogue to our set list on the fly, in the moment.
Love makes you do things. It's easy. I know you love that song now, JP.
I don't hate it. It's grown on. It's grown on me.
It's like a warm breeze, you know. It's, you know, in the nights it's like zephyrs, you know. It's just, you love it. Of course, it's okay.
I think for me, if I were going to do a song, randomly add a song that they don't normally perform, and that's not already on my set list, I think it would be This Is Your Life.
Okay. That's okay.
It's a great song.
I don't know, because I was gonna, like, I think the ones that I would choose are probably already on y'all's set lists. So I was trying to think of another song that maybe would do it that we haven't talked about. But yeah, I think I'm gonna go with, even though I think this was on JP's already, I think I'm gonna go with, maybe it was Quentin's. Does anybody hear me?
Yeah, that's on one of my closers. Yep.
Yeah. I think that'll be a fun one. I was gonna go rogue and do, like, a Christmas song.
Snowy Nights.
There's nothing wrong with that.
I actually think that there's some really cute moments on that Christmas album, but anyhow.
That's the only one I don't own. I need to get that that's the only thing I don't have.
Oh, I have that one. I love Snowy Nights. That's a nice one.
Snowy Nights and I love With My Honey. I think that's such a cute song.
I've actually heard good things about that record. I maintain, I think En Vogue reminds me a lot of Sister Sledge in that I think they get tied to one era, and those records from that period get like all the attention. But like Sister Sledge, they put out all these other great records right before that and after that did modestly well or okay, but they tend to be overlooked. And I think they've got a really solid little catalog there, I think, considering.
Oh, I have to mention that I am very glad that I'm standing solid in my choice to not include What a Man. Because I actually don't care that they ever performed it ever again. Like,
I don't think it works without Salt and Pepper to me.
It's one of those songs that I think everybody loves, but like, I don't know that they love it because it's En Vogue. Like, I think they love it because the hook is so great, but like, but
that's all they sing is the hook, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
But like, nothing about the hook really is like, oh my God, that's an En Vogue moment. Like, it's just, I don't know. I wish they would cut her and bring us in another track in these current shows. But anywho, well. We didn't invite too much of the mess with this discussion, but maybe what we'll do is we'll invite we'll invite the listeners to bring in the mess. So if you're listening to this podcast, then maybe you should let us know what your favorite set list was, and we'll hear from you about what your thoughts are.
Vote for JP.
Or even better, in the comments on YouTube and such, or in our email inbox or DMs, let us know what your set list would be. I'm always curious, like, if you don't want to develop your own set list, what would your encore song be? That'd be the thing I would ask people to like leave us with. But yeah, this was a really fun exercise, folks. So thanks for participating and giving your all. And thanks, listeners, for tuning in to not just this episode, but for an entire season. This is the last episode of the season. So if you missed something, if you want to relive the magic, then please do make sure that you connect with the podcast across whatever platform it is that you listen on, be that Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, or Amazon Music. And make sure to hit that follow button on our socials at Part of Us Fancast on Twitter and En Vogue Craze on Facebook and YouTube. If you have goodies, if you have archival En Vogue footage and all the things, let us know. We want to put that on our YouTube channel as well. So listeners, please rate and subscribe and review the podcast so that we can keep making our way to new listeners beyond this season.
And if I could just say, it was so great to sit with you guys for this season as a guest host. And to all the listeners out there, thank you for making me feel welcome. And it was a blast.
Yes. Welcome to the family, Quentin, officially. You hung with us for a whole season and we ain't had no beef.
It's all love. It's all love.
So yes, thanks everybody for listening, and we will see y'all soon.
Bye.
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 This episode of Part of Us at En Vogue Fancast was researched, written, produced, and edited by Matthew at Culture Inject Productions. We're more than just a podcast. We're a fan community. You can keep up to date on En Vogue and chat with other fans by visiting En Vogue Craze on Facebook. You can also follow us on YouTube and Instagram at En Vogue Craze and Twitter at Part of Us Fancast. Part of Us and En Vogue Fancast is not endorsed by En Vogue, E1 Music, or En Vogue Records, and is intended for entertainment and educational purposes only. En Vogue and its names, images, and audio clips are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of their respective copyright holders.
You have such a great jaw, like a jawline. Yes.
I hate it. I just don't like any of this right here. I'm just like, just want to like shoot me from my right side.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Mariah.
I was aiming more for Barbara, but hey, that'll work too.
Oh, wait. Oh, Matt, I don't know the intro language by heart. Hold on. No matter how many times I've done this, I still need to read from a script for the intro. All right, let's do this.